Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Miss Cordova. Right now, we will going to have our continuation of our discussion on survey of Philippine literature. Right now, we will going to have another Philippine literature written by Susan Rifalda Maraida. Okay, the story was entitled "The Boy Who Never Learned." Okay, so before we will dig into the context of this story, we will going to watch first a short video, a short clip of some kids that were interviewed um, and ask about what have they learned on their school, like that. Okay,
Today, in
start.
case you don't know, was National Teacher Appreciation Day. Oh, you didn't know. Okay, well, today is the day on which I guess we forget to give thanks to our nation's educators. And to honor teachers on this special day, we took a field trip to the farmers market on Fairfax, where we asked kids to share one thing they've learned this year. We asked this year, what did you learn in school? And this is what they told us.
So it's National Teacher Appreciation Day.
What does that mean?
We're talking about the things teachers have taught us. Can you tell us one thing you learned in school this year?
I learned about bugs. We learned in math about quadrilateral. Oh, I said that wrong. I don't know how to say it. But we know that it's a shape with four sides.
Can you tell us something you learned in school this year?
I learned numbers and letters.
Oh, yeah? Which one's
Yeah.
your favorite?
Numbers.
Tell me something you learned in school this year.
I learned time.
There's a clock right over there. Do you see it up there?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what time it is?
It's 7:10. 7:11. Something like that.
Can you tell us something you learned in school this year?
Math class.
What did you learn in math class?
Fraction.
What did you learn about fractions?
That. Ooh, I don't know. She teaches us how to read.
Uh-huh. Oh, do you like to read?
No.
You have anything you want to say to one of your teachers?
Hi. By the way, you better not find out about the fudge incident. There was fudge incident.
All right, so that are the answer of the student, the kids rather. Okay, so if I may ask you, what are the things that comes into your mind after watching that video? Maybe you would say like, "Oh, these kids were very intelligent. These kids were very amazing because they were learned about mathematics, factor, fractions rather, and numbers like that." But however, yes, as much as these kids are very intelligent, we cannot deny the fact that there are also kids that aren't really good in terms of academics, correct? Okay, so we have like a very we have different levels of our capacity in terms of academics or in terms of our intellectual, like that, or intelligence rather. Okay, so right now, actually that is related to our discussion for today. That is related to the story "The Boy Who Never Learned." Why? Because we will going to hear and understand the perspective of a boy who has a poor intellect, like that. So let's see about that one. And actually, I haven't mentioned it earlier, but this story is actually a short story, but it's actually very long. So what we need to do right now, we need to parse it, like that. So to summarize it and to make a comprehensive discussion about it, we're going to have first the introduction, and then the characters, the plot, specifically the climax and the conflict, the settings, the themes, and of course the conclusion. Okay, now let's start with an introduction first. Okay, the introduction for this story, "The Boy Who Never Learned," it is all about the friendship between Danny Di Matuto, a boy who was mocked by other people because of his poor intellect, and Ben, who is a boy who stood above the rest and got along with Danny well. Okay, so now we know already the first two characters. Now let's proceed to the another character, to a lot of characters of this story. Okay, aside from Danny Di Matuto and Ben, there we have Aling Carmen, Mang Carding, Mang Doro, and Ben's mother, and of course the people of Banahaw that mocked Danny. Okay, so in this scenario, we have here our protagonist and our antagonist. Our protagonist, firstly, is Danny Di Matuto, of course, and our antagonist are Mang Doro, and the people of Banahaw. Why? Because these Mang Doro and people of Banahaw mocked Danny and Ben. Okay, so now let's go for um, the plot first. Okay, as you can see, the plot um, it started with an introduction of how the author described Danny's physical appearance, his thoughts, and the origin of his sobriquet. So I've written here, as you can see, let me read to you. Among the street urchins, Danny Di Matuto's name evoked an image of queer hydrocephalus. And he has sagged shoulders, and his face was especially amusing with his thick underlip. So basically, Danny De Matuto has a hydrocephalus. So in his age, his intellect doesn't coincide with his age and his physical appearance. Yes. So that's how the story started. And while the story started, it was morning when when Danny was feeding his pet, whose name is Broas. He is given 1 peso by his mother to fetch some water. So Danny was very hardworking. He's very diligent for that one. He's very helpful with his mother as well. However, while he was doing his own thing, people in Banahaw and other people, yeah, people in Banahaw was consequently mocking him. Why? Because Danny has a very poor intellect. So that's why many people mocked him and bullies him and tease him. And however, Danny doesn't hold grudges to them. And the author stated that Danny has really a good heart because he understands these people, and even he understands these people even though he has a poor intellect. Okay, now on the second paragraph, this is a dialogue from his friend Ben. So Danny was given 1 peso by his mother by fetching a water. So when he go when Danny decided to go to a bakery, Mang Doro was there. Danny was planning to buy a monai, and Mang Doro actually cheated him with that. Mang Doro gave him a very less amount of monai because he know that Danny is doesn't know how to count, or he has a poor intellect, so Danny doesn't know what's the real cost of the monai. So Danny has been cheated on Mangdoro. Okay? But now this his friend Ben knew about it. His friend Ben saw it. So he approached Danny and talked to him. And this is his dialogue. But he shortchanged you. Nana gave you 1 peso for fetching us water. Mang Doro should have given you 4 buns for your 1 peso. Ben's point was etched with gathering fury. But he was cheated you. Don't you realize? Ben was beside himself. He was almost crying. So that's how the story started. Okay, so Danny and Ben had a conflict with each other because Danny doesn't doesn't believe Ben about Mang Doro's character. So he always believed that Mang Doro is good. The people of Banao is good. They are very good to me. But actually it's not. Okay, and the readers know it. So that's the plot of the story. Okay, now let's do the climax. The climax of the story is what I've mentioned when Ben confronted and get angry to Danny for what Mang Doro had done to and his response to it. But on the climax, it was actually had a resolution because Ben confessed that he will go to Manila to study, and Danny bid goodbye to him. So after they fought to each other, yes, Ben told Danny that, I will be going to Manila. So Danny became sad and very scared for his future because he doesn't have any other friend other than Ben. That's the climax of the story. So now let's go about the conflict. The first conflict on the story, Danny basically experienced social conflict in the form of the mockery of Mangdoro and the people of Banahaw. It's because of his mental incapacity. So it's man versus man or man versus society. But on the other hand, it was also mentioned in the story that he also faced psychological conflict, which is internal conflict. Because in continuation of the story, while Ben told Danny about his that he will go back to Manila, Danny became sad, right? So they were in the railroad during that time, and he saw a train passing by, and the train was leaving. He was thinking about his friend leaving as well. So Danny was very scared. Danny was very fearful during that time because he knows that people mocks him, but he doesn't know how to fight them back like Ben did to him. So Ben is only his only friend, so that's why he was very lonely. Okay, now let's go back. Let's go to the settings of the story. Actually, it has a lot of settings. There's a lot of time mentioned. Firstly, is the Saturday afternoon when Danny and Ben talked about their dreams. It is the same day that uh, they fetch water and they buy some. Danny buys some monai. And another setting was like one morning when Danny tried to feed his dying pet Broas when he got to the bakery. Okay, so but generally the short story happened when Danny was on his last year on high school and before Ben left for Manila to further study. And it occurred at Banahaw. That's the place. Okay? So, right now, what are the themes of the story, Miss? So, the themes of the story, actually, okay. Actually, the themes of the story will put this into the two messages of it. One is to have an understanding heart as Danny. Yes, do you know why? Because during that time, Danny and Ben were talking to each other as what I've mentioned a while ago. While Ben was very furious about Mang Doro's cheating to Danny, Danny wasn't doesn't believe really believe um Ben during that time. Why? Because he always say, "No, Mang Doro is good to me. The people in Banao is good to me. It's okay. It's okay." He's very kind. Even though he has like a very low intellect, he still choose to be understanding. He chose to be understanding and a pure-hearted boy that even though he received disrespect, only he still respect these people. And this basically means that the way we treat other people is more important than any educational attainment. Correct? Okay. So another message also from the story was the expression or and of or about friendship. The story communicates that true friendship looks beyond on any impediments of a person. Despite Danny's condition, Ben became friends with him. Also, a true friend has a deep concern for his friend. Ben wanted to inculcate in Danny's mind an idea of shame and self-respect as a prerequisite for respect from others. Right? It's a really good theme because the true friend will always stay with you no matter unsa kakakuwang, right? So it's really rare to find like Ben nowadays. So we need to really choose our friends. We need to really choose who we should trust. Okay? Because Ben taught Danny the idea of self-respect. You need to value yourself. You need to see your worth. And maybe we can all relate of it, because there was at times as well that we were too kind to our friends, that to the fact that gabusaran na ta, correct? So basically, we will just put it this way. The first theme was the way we treat other people is more important than our intellect, and genuine friendship can surpass any boundaries. Okay, now let's go to the conclusion of the story. So after that, after Danny and Ben talked with each other, Ben confessing about his going to Manila and Danny having an internal conflict, yes, the conclusion is that the title itself, Danny Di Matuto, haven't learned from it. Even though people in Banahaw constantly bullying him, he still choose to understand them. He still choose to what? He still choose to live his life as before. So he doesn't learn about it, even though Ben is constantly reminding him about self-worth, self-worth, self-worth. That's why he is the boy who never learned. Yes. But actually, I think in my own perspective, actually, oh yeah, before we go to my own perspective, let's talk about first the point of view also, because that is the conclusion wasn't also all about the ending, but also the point of view. Actually, the story is like an omniscient point of view. So the author was really creative, because he could, if he is writing for in Ben's perspective, he is really writing in Ben's perspective. The readers will definitely felt the angerness, the furious Ben. And if he goes to Danny's lines, the author is really good in, she rather, she's really good in portraying Danny, that you could also feel how rational and understanding Danny is. Okay, now let's go to the perspective, my own perspective of this story. Actually, this story has 2 points, the good point and the bad point. The bad side was that he never learned about it, and that's really bad. You need to learn, you need to improve, you need to change if it's really need to change, correct? Even though you have a poor intellect, you're still a human being, you need to know your self-worth. But the good side of the story was that Danny has that innate character already. It's very natural for him to be understanding, to be rational, to see things in positive ways, and that's really good, and that's really rare for a person. And imagine he has like a hydrocephaly. I don't know what's the term, but he has an illness. He has a poor intellect, even in his age. But look at him, he is very good, other than people who is very complete and very healthy, right? So I think that's the end of our story, and I hope you had learned something, and have a good morning, have a good night.